the recording.
Okay. And is that everybody?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, let's see if they're active, if they can hear our voice. Welcome to the December 27th, 2023, last of the year, Dover Conservation Commission hearing. Thank you for being here just before New Year. And we will entertain, well, actually, Laura, if you can read the governor's opening, please.
Sure. Following guidance issued by the governor regarding the open meeting law, this public meeting will be held remotely. Individuals wishing to participate may do so by using Zoom video conferencing, and to join the meeting using computer or tablet, you may click on the link, or to join by telephone, call the number and enter the meeting ID and the passcode. And the meeting is being recorded.
Okay.
Sorry, I got distracted by my participant list. I don't see GLM, and that's for the first one, 22.
Well, David Jimison's on. That's
Yes, the owner. Yep.
Yeah, and we can well, we can open that up and have Janet give us a quick overview. If you'd like to unmute, please. There we go.
So this is RDA for soil testing for a septic replacement. I did have a number of questions for Joyce. For some reason on the site plan she submitted, it showed the 40-foot wetland setback and not the 50. And it appeared to me that probably 3 of the test pits, let's see, there were a total of 8 test pits shown on the site plan. It looks like 3 or 4 are within the 50-foot, which we wouldn't allow usually. Board of Health does not allow within the 50-foot either. So my recommendation was to take those off the site or request a waiver. But my recommendation would be that all soil testing be done outside the 50-foot and outside the 70-foot if possible. It looks like there is some space to perhaps do testing as far away from the wetland as possible. And then if those are problematic, then they would come back for an additional request. So I don't know what Joyce's feedback is on that. And then also I wanted to indicate no stockpiling within the 100-foot buffer. That should be committed to. Also, there's a pond. I think it's off the property. But just a quick look at it, it could be a vernal pool, which would then establish a 100-foot no disturb setback. I don't think they could meet the 100-foot setback, but it would be another reason to pull all septic testing as far away from wetlands and the pond as possible.
Okay. Let's see. I was looking for, was it David Jimison?
Yes, he's not on anymore.
He was on for a moment, and now he's not on. Okay. And let's see, there's no DEP number associated with this?
It's an RDA.
Yeah, is it? Okay.
He's
Well,
trying to get back in, John. He must have been bounced out. I'm just hitting admit.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe he's using a different device. So David, if you can hear us, we had a couple questions for you. And do you get feedback, Lori? Is he up there?
Oh, hi.
There we go. Hi.
Sorry. The computer was not agreeing with me.
Okay,
Let's see, I logged out briefly and came back, and I initially heard a question about the 40-foot buffer zone as
Mhm.
opposed to the 50. And my understanding from Joyce was that because of the sort of grandfathering provision of the time
Mhm.
when the house and the initial septic was built, that the 40-foot buffer zone would apply rather than the current 50-foot.
So do you know, David, you have a decent sized lot here. Is where the existing leach bed is currently, is there a reason they can't excavate that out and bring in new material for that? Or do you know what's behind the failure here? I'm assuming, has it failed, number one?
No, it hasn't failed. This is a voluntary upgrade.
Mhm.
One of the issues is there are two issues. One is that the current septic is within the 100-foot limit from the well, so that it is not compliant with current
Mhm. And where's
regulations.
your well? I'm looking at the plan. I'm just,
It's directly in front of the house.
okay. Is that noted on the plan?
Uh,
I don't see it.
it,
No, I see
uh,
plenty of oak trees, but okay, so
It should have been there. There is a plan that's in the Board of Health that would show that well.
okay.
Uh,
And then go ahead, that's one of the reasons.
and the second reason is that we are hoping to do an addition, and because of the ledge that is in the front of the house, it means that we would need to move back a little bit. We have a historical house with substantial ledge in the front yard and surrounding. So that
Mhm.
really restricted where we could think about putting the expanding or putting the leach field.
Okay, and where the existing leaching bed is, would the proposed addition reach out to where that is?
Yes, it would.
So it's a substantial addition.
It's yeah, a modest addition, but because of the location, which is immediately behind the house, it would sort of infringe on that leaching field, and that was the reason that we were hoping to move it.
Mm-hmm. And so this is an RDA for the test pits themselves, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So it does look like Joyce has put some around the existing leaching bed, and then maybe on a secondary basis, looking a little farther out. And I'm just trying to figure out where our 40-foot line is there.
So just to clarify, there is no grandfathering of the old setback line. We have a
Mhm.
grandfather policy, but as new applications come in, the 50 and 70-foot setbacks apply, and then a waiver can be requested. So
Mhm.
there's no 40-foot setback anymore. That
Right. So that's, yeah, exactly. And is that clear, David?
Yes, thank you for clarifying.
Okay. So one of the things, it's a little difficult for us to not having Joyce on. Do you know if she was supposed to be on tonight, or had you talked to her?
I thought she was. She knew that it was scheduled for tonight.
Yeah, so it's rare that she's not on when she has a client in front of us. I think as we're seeing a wetland buffer, and you're saying that the entire front of the house, even down to the lower left side, closer to the street, is all ledge?
It is, and the well is also in the front of the house, so
Mhm.
creates limited, a limited opportunity.
David,
Okay.
is the black dot next to the 100 in the front there, is that
Oh, good eye.
between the two walks?
Let me see, I have the plan here that she gave you. It's about 5 feet in front of the house.
Right. See the 100-foot grade line that's out there?
The.
There's a line, it's in between the two walkways, there's a 100 with a black dot next to it. And that's the only
Yes,
black dot I see.
yes, I'm not pulling up the plan right now, but that would no doubt be the well.
Okay. And so the current leaching bed, do you know what the distance is from there?
I think it's approximately 75 feet, if I remember.
Okay. And down gradient, but with many of things in between it. And have you ever had any E. coli or anything like that in your well?
No, we had a voluntary testing, I think about 20 years ago. And that's when the plan was submitted to the Board of Health. And they did approve, I guess it would be with a waiver, the 75-foot.
This was 20 years ago they approved something, or?
Well, it was existing,
Mhm.
but we did a voluntary,
Water test?
a voluntary water test.
Oh,
yes.
so they accepted that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I guess, commissioners, I'm just, without having Joyce here, getting a more technical explanation as to why this would
Right.
need to go closer to the wetlands. Does anybody else share that concern?
Yeah, no, I think even without a layover, an overlay of the proposed addition and then distances and everything, I think it's hard to comment on it.
Yeah, so it just I think that what we'd like to have is number one, and we can leave this open, move on to our next ones, and if Joyce arrives, then we can go back to it. But we do have a relatively short agenda tonight due to the holiday and so forth. And we just have, I can't recall a septic system this close to a wetland in our recent history. And so and normally if we've had anything within the 100-foot buffer, it's been because it's a due to a failure. And so we'd just like to have a better idea of what alternatives exist there.
Can
So
I interfere, sort of interject for one moment? I
Mhm.
certainly apologize that Joyce is not here.
oh, we're not holding against you. No worry.
And that area in the back is down to the pond is entirely lawn. So it has been previously,
Mhm.
so.
No, but it's one of the concerns we have in terms of nitrate filtration and things of that sort is that frankly it is down to the pond and those the general that things do slope towards the pond. And so having a septic system that would be even closer or within that 100-foot buffer may add to have a detrimental effect on the pond. And we'd like to have that addressed by by Joyce or somebody from her office there. We're aware of just how rocky things are up in that neck of the woods. So it's and normally if you have a place that actually has an existing septic system uh, and is and in this case it's voluntary, it hasn't failed, most people are more than happy to keep their existing location. So I think why don't we just move this to the side and move on with the rest of the evening, and we'll see if Joyce makes it on, and if not, we'll move this to the next meeting.
Thank you very much. In the meantime, I'll see whether I can reach her.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So next up, we have Aquarium Water. looking to do their seasonal carbon treatment over on Old Colony Drive. And Janet, did you have a chance to review their response?
Not really, no, that just came in today around noon, so I have not had a chance to review that. We also have no DEP number, so
Okay.
we can't close.
I mean, just reading through it and then reading his responses, these are just two big granular carbon filters. They're nothing, there's no chemical treatment or anything else there. It doesn't seem like
Mhm.
a big concern.
And it's
Other than A, that there's PFAS in those wells, but
Mhm.
B, I mean, it's just a pad for the tanks, right, Stephen? That's all it is.
Yes,
And these are
Mhm.
just big
Right.
carbon filters like you might have in your basement, and you just dump the carbon out once a year and remove it, replace it, right? Yeah.
And this is on previously disturbed areas? Steven?
yes.
Okay.
Right, yes,
Okay, I don't
right now there's
mind.
a
I'm sorry, what? You're dropping out there.
I was gonna say that where we're gonna put the concrete pad for the pressure vessels, there's currently a propane tank that we're gonna relocate, the propane
Mhm.
tank.
Okay.
And we're coordinating with the fire department.
Okay. So I don't know, so this is the first time we're hearing this. We haven't seen this plan up on the screen before, is that correct? Or have we?
Correct.
Okay. Jen, I'm open to opening this, but obviously we can't close it without a DP number. Why don't we let David pull it up, show us the plan, and then Jen, you can go through some of the concerns you had.
Sure.
Okay. So Stephen, Laura, if you can give Stephen permission to share, are you ready to do that, Stephen? For this evening?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
And this is a response to having a positive test for PFAS, is that correct?
yes, several
Mhm.
tests. So,
Mhm.
Aquarian began sampling for PFAS in 2021. They sample monthly. The regulation is based on quarterly results, and the first couple quarters, they were within the standards of 20 parts per trillion, and then two quarters in a row, they exceeded. So they had to prepare a short-term and a long-term corrective action plan for the Department of Environmental Protection.
Mhm.
That long-term corrective action plan included this seasonal treatment facility.
Mhm.
So that's what we're trying to do. Again, the wells, they're trying to just use the wells in the high demand season, so the summertime. And so they'll have this treatment system online in the summertime and then winterize it when not in use. So in the fall, they'll winterize it and then get it ready again in the spring.
And
There's
do you
6-foot
know
diameter pressure.
if I can, I just had a question. Do you know if you pump a lot out of those wells, does your PFAS concentration go up?
That hasn't been determined. However, the levels of PFAS in the wells have changed over time. So they were between 10 and 15, and then they rose up to 35, and then now they're down back to 12 to 15. It might be the groundwater table. It was a fairly wet summer this past summer, so it might have been a
Mhm.
higher groundwater table than 2 years ago. That's
Mhm.
certainly a possibility, but there's been no hydraulic modeling of that.
No, the reason I asked is that well's known for being very active in the summer due to irrigation and things of that nature, and just wondering if that played a role and if curtailing some of the flow would improve the concentration. So it's something we'd like to know about in the future there. Why don't you continue with your presentation?
So the treatment system consists of two 6-foot diameter pressure vessels, and Jim will describe them adequately. They're filled with granular activated carbon, so 6-foot diameter, and we're going to put them on a proposed 10-foot by 20-foot concrete pad.
Mhm.
And that pad's going to be surrounded by a perimeter trench drain to take care of any stormwater runoff from the concrete pad.
Mhm.
There are no other disturbances other than relocating an existing propane tank that's currently where we're gonna put the pressure vessels. The propane tank is here. So we're gonna move it over to here. You can see my screen.
Mhm.
And that's it. We're gonna surround the entire perimeter with erosion controls. And there was one comment about putting the 50-foot and 70-foot buffers or setbacks on the drawings, and we really couldn't do that because if you look down here, this is one wetland boundary and the other wetland boundaries up here. So we're basically on a peninsula and the boundaries are overlapping. So the entire work zone is within that, you know,
It's in the wetland.
50-foot setback.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it was
Mhm.
kinda, but what you do see is here the 200-foot riverine buffer. So there is again some activity in that buffer right here, but it's just you know, some excavation and pouring the concrete and a little bit of grading on the backside of the concrete pad, just to, you know, reinforce so it doesn't undermine in the future.
And currently, is this entire site outlined with your, I don't know if the dash dot dark line, is that your oh, that's your limit of work. Is that currently all
Yes.
disturbed?
Yes, if right above it, you can see the fence line. There's a fence line right here.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you can see the fence line goes around the site around here. It's a perimeter fence.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all, you know, it was built in the 80s. Phil was brought in, I guess, to construct the well field. And so there's a underground clear well right here. The two wells are back here. Here's the well number 2, well number 1. The piping's under the ground. They inject chemicals in this vault right here. And then there's a clear well right here, a storage tank. There's a pump station right here. That's what pumps the water into the system. And this is the existing chemical building where they have chemicals for pH adjustment and chlorine for disinfection. And so all that's going to remain the same. We're just capturing the water here, running it through the filters, and then bringing the water back so it can get treated how it normally does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And does the generator get a new pad, Stephen?
No, the generator is going to remain. So the generator's right here.
I mean, yeah, sorry, the propane
trans-
tank. Sorry, the propane. Is that a
Yeah,
new pad as well?
Propane tank. Yes, we're replacing the pad in kind, same size.
Okay.
And is that the location where it used to be?
No, the generator propane tank used to be right here.
I see. Got it. Okay, so you're moving
And-
it down. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we looked at different orientations for the concrete pad. And because of the limits of the piping and the fencing and the contours, in order for a drill rig to be able to get back here in the future, this is really the only spot we could squeeze this 10 by 20 concrete pad. So we had to basically relocate the propane tank. And it kind of
Okay.
makes sense to have it closer to the generator anyway and closer to the
Yeah.
pump station. So
Absolutely. Mhm. Okay, and did you want to address, you addressed Janet's concern about, well, I think it would behoove you to address, Janet's original concern was the concept of chemicals in these containers, and you addressed that. Why don't you tell us how you clarified that?
yeah, that must have been a miscommunication. So there's no chemicals in the pressure vessels. It's granule activated carbon, which is a filtration media for taking out contaminants from drinking water.
Mhm.
So the existing chemicals that are on site are stored in an existing chemical facility, which has
Mhm.
secondary containment. So there's no,
Mhm.
you know, there's no chemicals. And
So,
when
and
you
then,
load and unload the carbon,
Mhm.
when you load and unload the carbon from the pressure vessels, it's all done with a vacuum truck and a tanker truck. So everything's done with hoses and pneumatics. So there's nothing, you know, nothing's going to spill on the ground. If anything were to spill, it would just be solid material that you would pick up with a broom or a shovel if, you know, if anything fell on the ground, but it usually doesn't happen.
Mhm. And why don't we switch over to Janet and she can bring up other concerns?
Sure.
Sure. So, we can just go through the list. I believe there was a description, supplied as to why, this was needed, just so we have that for the record.
Yep.
I believe you were going to revise the site plans to show filter mitt, compost sock, and
Yep,
construction fencing. Is that correct?
we did that. Here's the detail of the filter mitt erosion control barrier with the, the sock, the silt fence, and the orange construction fence. And that goes around the entire perimeter of the site up to the entire wetland boundary. So that, our work zone is right in here, but there's an access road that, abuts to Old Colony Drive. So the wetland boundary ends right here. So we're going to basically add that erosion control for the entire wetland boundary.
Okay.
And then it's outside, I'm sorry, I'll zoom a little bit so you can see it. So this is the only two places that make sense to add the 50-foot and the 70-foot buffer along the access road, because basically this whole thing is within it because of the wetland boundary. So it's outside this buffer that we're gonna have if anything needs to be stored, any materials or any vehicles, they'll all be parked here. There will be no storage of earth materials or anything inside that buffer zone,
Okay.
which is basically this.
And Stephen, just on that front, are you gonna plan to drive a concrete truck back there to pour these, or what's the process for that?
Yeah, there'll be a concrete truck. It'll come in, it'll probably back in. It'll probably get right to here and then it'll pump.
I just
pump the
when they,
concrete to-
you know as well as I, when they rinse out, let's just make sure none of it ends up back there. At
Yeah.
the end of the pour.
Agreed.
The guys tend to dump it on the ground wherever they can.
Yep.
Okay. Janet, so there was a concern about the drainage trench around the pad. And I believe that was addressed as being just a drainage trench for water from the pad, from the impervious surface of the pad. Is that correct, Stephen?
Yes.
Okay. And does that meet with answer your question, Janet, on that?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Um,
Continuing.
So number 6 was just on, since work is in the riverfront, that was not checked off on the application. So that should be revised. The wetlands field data forms, I believe you're asking a waiver from that. I guess we could, because this isn't no expansion, we would just indicate in our findings that we are not approving the wetland line. I guess that would address that.
I think also the admission that it's 100% within the wetland buffer, given that it works in both directions, there is another thing.
Right, but there's BVW. You can see on the site plan over to the right, there's BVW there, and normally we'd want to confirm that wetland line is being accurate, but because this is already disturbed and they're not expanding, it's fine. I have not been out to the site, so I will be contacting Stephen. I would like to at least walk the site with you, just to confirm the existing conditions.
Okay. And any other comments, Janet?
Let's see, they confirmed no impact on trees or vegetation. I believe he addressed, so you'll show on the site plan where the stockpiling will be?
Yes, that is on one of these sheets.
Okay, and then the
Right here.
appendix, appendix F was sort of a generic site work specs. And I think you've revised that, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so I'll take a look at that. And then just going through the application quickly, I did not see a check for the town portion of the WPA fees. And I'm wondering, Lori, did you confirm that we got 2 checks, one for the bylaw and one for the WPA fees? We did, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. All right,
No.
yeah, that
So-
was my application.
You gave me, so I didn't have any fees, and then you had found the 187.50, which is I'm not sure what that what that number entails, because if that's the bylaw fee, it's just an odd number.
It's,
And is it-
yeah,
Go ahead.
we were communicating with Laurie and then, leading up to the submission, we were not unable to contact her. And I think she was out sick for a week or two. So we had some questions for the agent, I'm sorry, the administrative assistant. And based on the bylaws and the instructions, these are the fees that we calculated. And if they're incorrect, we'll definitely, we want to correct them. So, but these are the two checks that we submitted. So if that 187.50 is an incorrect number, please let me know.
Okay, I can talk to you about that. And if the state fee is incorrect, they won't issue your DEP number either. So we'll have to figure that one out.
But
Okay, I
Stephen-
appreciate it.
Stephen,
Okay.
there should be two separate checks made out to the town of Dover. One is the WPA portion, and then the other is the fees under our bylaw.
So we can combine that into the one check. So maybe that was the issue.
Actually, you can combine it all into one check, but 187.50 is an odd amount. 100 is advertising. 200
Okay.
would be an application fee. What's the 87.50?
So that might be isn't the WPA fund a 50-50 split between the state and the town?
No, the
Oh, it's
town
not?
gets more. The
There-
town gets
there was
more.
So,
Oh, we do. Okay, no, I was just looking
Yeah.
at the 280, yeah.
12.50 more.
Okay. Well, why don't you
Yeah,
go?
we can figure it out on the
Okay.
phone, and he
Okay.
can.
And I think it
Right.
it is behooves to focus also on making sure that the state version is accurate so that at the next hearing they have a DEP number available.
Right, right.
And
We can chat on the phone about that.
okay.
Even the only
Uh,
question I had was you call out coal-based carbon. Is there any reason for that?
Yes.
Other than coconut-based or whatever?
yes, yeah, pilot studies and research over the past 5 years has shown that bituminous-based carbon is the best for removing PFAS,
Oh, okay.
better than coconut-based.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, that's great.
Is it a little stickier, or I was wondering why I hadn't heard anything
No,
about.
no, it just has to do with deactivation sites and the nooks and crannies that are created with bituminous-based carbon versus coconut shells. It
Mhm.
lasts longer. So, the same weight of it, it'll last longer. So
Nice.
you want
Then-
something that you don't have to change out every months.
Yep.
How is
Yeah.
that when you take that medium off site? How is it? Is it processed? What happens to it then?
One of three things. So for this stuff, we're gonna regenerate it. So the supply will take the carbon back, they'll regenerate it and reactivate it. The reactivation process is you heat it up in very high temperatures, you drive off and incinerate the contaminants, and then you basically lift with the carbon again, and then you add in some virgin carbon, so it's like an 80-20 mix, and then you get regenerated carbon. That's typically what's done.
So the incineration will break the bonds of the PFAS and actually get rid of it that
Yes.
way?
Yes.
Interesting, because
It's- so you're not
all I've been
incinerating the
reading was,
carbon, but you're,
what's that? Oh,
I
we
was gonna
lost
say,
you.
you're not incinerating carbon. You're not, oh, I think I have my paper on top of the microphone. You're not incinerating the carbon. You're thermally destroying the contaminants.
Okay,
Thermal
no,
destruction.
all the press I've seen has been how tenacious they are at not breaking their molecular
Yes.
bounds. So, okay, any other questions, Janet?
No, I think that was it. I'll follow up and we'll schedule a site meeting before the next Concom meeting.
Okay.
Great.
Great.
Okay, great. And thank you very much. And we'll pay attention to the DEP number and move you to, if you can request a continuance to Lori, please, for this.
So I do that via email?
Yeah, via email's fine. Mm-hmm.
That'll be the
Okay.
meeting of January 10th.
Okay, Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you,
okay,
Stephen.
thank you. Have a good evening.
Bye now.
Okay, next we have two Town of Dover Public Works culvert jobs. And Janet, why don't you fill us in on this? I'm sorry, Lori?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to let you know that Joyce from GLM was on the meeting.
Ah, let's see. Why am I? Up there it is. Up there she is. Okay. Why do we
I
think?
apologize. I did not have a connection. I apologize.
Oh, okay, why don't we connect back and just address some questions we had on Wilsondale there. Main questions we had is there's an existing septic system there. It looks as if you're testing around the perimeter of that and then doing ancillary testing to the right of that. Is that just in case, or what's?
So it's just in case because there's a lot of ledge out here. So we
Mhm.
showed a number of different areas for potential test sites. I did talk to Janet and we agreed that the testing wouldn't be any closer than 50 feet to the wetlands, even though
Okay.
the existing septic is a little closer. But we've shown some additional areas just in the event that we had ledge and they needed to expand in another area. But the idea is to test around the existing septic system because at least we know that area works.
And then you'd have the ability, if things test, of basically using the existing location for your new system, or?
It's possible to use the existing location. It's really going to be dependent upon the soils.
Mhm.
The idea is really, this is the first step, is just to get the soil testing done with the Board of Health. And then when the design gets done, we'll go through a notice of intent because everything will be within 100 feet.
Mhm.
We'll fix the wetland line with Janet and then show what the design is and all the grading that's associated with it. But this
Mhm.
first step is really just to be able to do the soil testing with the Board of Health.
And
May-
would you
may
be
I-
able to, if
may
it worked
I,
out
uh,
that?
jump
can-
into,
David, can I just ask a question, please? Before I lose it. So if need be, would you be able to excavate the existing leaching bed and bring soils in?
No, we wouldn't want to dig up the existing septic system because they're using it right now.
Mhm.
But if we test around it, it's all going to depend on what they find for soils.
Well, I'm not talking about your testing thing. I'm just looking forward in the future.
Right.
The question we had
Yes,
earlier
you can use the area of you excavate any deleterious material.
Mhm.
And obviously your soil testing has to have been in parent material that would be below that area or beside it. So, and there would be a limit of excavation, obviously. So it's going to be dependent on what they find out there for soils. It's probably less expensive to go outside the area of the existing septic system if it's possible. But that again, the first few buckets of soil will tell us, where the best location will be.
Right,
Mhm.
just
So
as
this
an
is really
aside,
just the.
just as an aside, Joyce, I'd have a hard time moving an existing system that's working.
Oh, no, it's
closer.
not.
No,
No. I'm not saying it's working. It's not necessarily working. I mean, doesn't meet necessarily current code, but it's
it's
that's-
not failed. It hasn't
it's
failed.
not. It's so right. So we don't want to disturb it
Right,
at
but
all.
just to be clear, I'd have a hard time taking existing operating system and moving it closer to the wetlands.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I mean,
There's
just
a
to be
certain
clear,
distance. Yeah.
So, but the
Absolutely.
test pits you're digging appear to do that, right?
No, we're not gonna be closer than 50 feet from the wetlands.
And what's the distance from the existing system from the wetland?
I don't have the plan. Some of it's within the 40 foot.
No, it's not.
No,
it's
no,
not?
we're not seeing. Yeah, I'm looking at a plan now. I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, I don't have it in
And
front
then,
of me.
I mean, to be honest, the replacement grandfather is if there was no other option to put it in closer than the 50 foot. Like if you had to replace a failed system, it would be
Yep.
grandfathered. So just to make sure we're all talking the same.
Right, so
language.
I'm not the I'm not the engineer.
No,
I'm
no,
the
and I'm
wetland
just saying, I just
person.
be, you know, just to be clear, it would be a hard sell to expand a system that's not failed.
Not, so understood. So, but again, this is the first step, the
Yeah,
testing.
yeah, no, absolutely.
But I think one of the concerns we have, and then I'll before I come to you, Jen, I'll let David speak. Is that prior to your getting online this evening, we were under the impression that part of what was driving this was, number one, proximity to the well in the front. Number two, the desire to put an addition on that might infringe on the existing septic system. And that's a voluntary expansion. And so the concept of if that with that voluntary expansion, it would potentially move a septic system closer to the wetland, and you're still within the 100-foot line there, then we would be very skeptical of that.
Understood.
Does that-
So at this point in time, no one has tested the existing septic system, whether it meets current Title V or it doesn't. This is
Mhm.
just the very first step in a design process.
Mhm.
And that's what we're here to do. And then the engineer will work together with the architects. Yes, they are proposing to make an addition to the house, but this house system is also greater than 30 years old. So it's not, this isn't strictly for expansion purposes, it's also for planning purposes. Because, you know, they haven't tested the system yet, but we have to know whether or not right now the soils work. And they're not ready to do a Title V to determine
Mhm.
whether it's passing or failing.
Right. And have you had access to the original septic design for this location?
There is no septic design on file for this. We have a sketch. I'm working with a sketch right now from an old investigation of the septic system as to where this is located. They did some exploration, and that's how I have laid out where this is. Is this exactly the location where the field is? We're basing it on evidence that we find in the field and sketches based from other cleaning and
But
work on the field itself.
no previous soil logs or perk tests or anything
No,
like that.
no, it's too old. This house is old.
Okay. David, you wanted to clarify something?
Oh, I just wanted to clarify, I did find the record, and the well is currently 67 feet from the SAS. I indicated 75, so that was that's an issue for us going forward.
Okay. Joyce, you
So-
look like you're.
No, so this is again, this is just for planning purposes and design purposes. The well has to be a certain distance. There's ledge. There's a lot of restrictions here. And this is not all related to a proposed addition. So,
But I guess
Okay.
without a current failed system,
and before we come to you, we'll have those answers. Before we come to you with a design. Right now, we're just looking for permission to test.
No, and you understand our concern is the idea of allowing something to go closer to the wetland is something that concerns us.
Understood.
I mean, it just
Understood,
sounds to
and-
me,
and,
it sounds like the cart before the horse. It should be first thing should be a Title V test. And I mean, to be honest, and then say, well, we want to do X, Y, and Z. I don't know.
Well, again, it's a very old septic system, and they're gonna need to upgrade it. What they may or may not do is the addition may be affected by an addition or any addition may be affected by what they find for testing.
True. One of the things, and obviously the addition is more easily redesigned to move in one direction or the other, as opposed to strictly towards the existing system. So that just letting you know those are our concerns.
Absolutely. And I did not file, my filing had nothing to do with an addition. I didn't mention an addition. I apologize. I don't know how, I didn't, if I said that,
that's
I.
fine.
No.
I get it.
No, that
I
was
totally get it.
David.
And
Oh,
it's,
okay.
No,
yeah.
what we had mentioned when you weren't here was that it's rare that we have something that's within 100 feet that that is not a failed system
Correct.
that is being requested.
Understood.
And
Understood.
and the follow-up on that was because they have a well that's within 100 feet, but they've had no history of it testing with, nitrates or E. coli or anything else. So partly we'll check in with the Board of Health to see if there's been any concerns on their part, as part of this. But so then I guess it comes down to, the question of allowing to test within the buffer when you don't have you're basically doing it on a prophylactic basis as a just in case, as opposed to being required to because you have a failed system. Is that a fair
Right,
way of
so-
looking at it?
Yes, we would like permission to test outside the 50. Because that's the area that we see there's the least amount of ledge.
Mhm.
And if, we're doing this at our own risk. If we come back and find that we need to test in another area, we'll have to come back and ask for additional testing. But
Okay.
at this point, we've identified areas that we feel will be helpful, and we feel that when we come back to you, we fully understand that we need to prepare all the information that you need as far as understanding what we're doing and our justification or not justification for what we're doing.
And is there anything in the lower left? Let me just scroll down here. I have the plan up in front of me. Let me just see where. Oh, okay, where Wilsondale is there. I didn't know whether the front left of the lot, as you got closer to the street and your grades came
So
down there.
there's some grade there. The ledge is all over the right side, all the way down the property line to the wetlands, and on the left, it slopes down towards
back.
the wetlands.
Yeah.
And so really the best area is where they put the septic system in the first place. And if we can make it better than what it is, we will. So
Okay.
we'll, whether we do some exploratory testing outside that area, to prove what we're doing, we'll do that.
Okay. Janet, you had your hand up?
Yes, just to provide some context here. Generally, in the past, we have asked applicants to test as far away from the wetlands as is practicable. And then if that first line, as far away as possible, doesn't test properly, then they can come back and request additional spots. Regardless, I'm not sure why the 40-foot was put on here, but my calculations, my measuring, 3 of the proposed test pits are in the 50-foot buffer. So at a minimum, this site plan needs to be revised to show the 50-foot and to show all test pits. I would recommend they do a first phase. The first, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 4 that look like they may be outside the 70-foot, that they do those first and get feedback from the septic agent. If none of those would support a system, if those soils are not adequate, then they'd come back for a revised to get additional permission. Or we could my suggestion was that we could condition this, that they have to do the first 4 outside the 70-foot, or at least outside the 50. If those are not sufficient, then we would allow them to do the follow-up 4. That would
I
be
think-
one way to handle it.
So I
So
think
what I'd like to ask is, we'll flag the 50-foot setback so that everybody is clearly aware of where the 50-foot is, and have a straw wattle on that 50. And then I would like, just like any other, the system is more than 30 years old. It's to presume that it's not in failure, where the groundwater is right now would be, it wouldn't be practical. It's for all practical purposes, except no one likes to say I'm living with a failed septic system at this point. We'd like to be able to just go and test it like we would normally test a septic system, knowing that we clearly understand what the commission is looking for. And we've done this, you know, for many years. We know what the commission is looking for, how far away you'd like us to be. And that even the Board of Health has some, and Title V has some restrictions on how far things should be from the wetlands. So we would like to mark the 50 and then just find an area that works, whether it's wherever that might be, as far away as it can be. And our goal is to be as far away as we can be.
So are you
Because
saying
the
that if you
closer
mark
we are, I'm sorry,
are you saying if you mark the 50, your testing will be all beyond the 50-foot line? Is that what
beyond
you're?
the 50, right?
Yeah.
Okay. As we get
Mhm.
closer to, you know, towards the 50, the groundwater gets higher. So, you know, you know, our goal is to try and make things work
Okay.
for
So,
everybody.
Jenna, given with that revision, so that they're testing 100% outside of the 50, does that make you feel more comfortable?
It would, but I would want to see a site plan, a revised
I
site plan before.
I can email you a site plan over tomorrow morning that shows this. And I don't have anybody in the office tomorrow, Janet. But I can email you that over, and then we'll deliver one on Monday. It's going to take a little bit of time to get on the Board of Health schedule anyway, but I will get this over to you no later than not Monday, but Tuesday. But I can email it to you tomorrow.
Is that suffice, Janet?
Quite
Well,
honestly, I really would like to have a site plan in hand before the
All
board
I'm going to
approves.
do is put the 50-foot line on there.
Well, but also the test pits are gonna, there are at least 3, Joyce, that are within the 50-foot.
I'll move that,
And those are
and I'll move those 3 feet. I mean, I'm not going to be within the 50. That's all. Clearly, I will not be within the 50.
Okay.
Yeah, if the board's comfortable approving something pending submission of a revised site plan, then that's fine. However, my other concern is that this pond could be a vernal pool, and that will need, when you come back in that will need to have been addressed, you know, during vernal pool season, to determine potential additional setbacks, because we have 100-foot no disturb setback for a vernal pool.
We will again address those things when we get to that point. And right now, we're just dealing with the septic system.
Okay, does commissioners, anybody have any questions, or no, does anybody have an issue with allowing this RDA to proceed with the revisions shown that that the 50-foot line is shown, and that all testing will be outside the 50-foot line?
Yeah.
Is that appropriate? Any questions on that?
So John, I did have 4 special conditions that I recommend, and the first one is that all testing has to be outside the 50-foot, and anything with 70-foot is only allowed if all other testing locations further away are deemed inadequate.
And that's 2? Was 3 and 4?
That's number 1.
Okay.
Yeah. And then 2 is also outside the 100-foot buffer. Number 3 is after completion of soil testing, all disturbed areas need to be stabilized. And then number 4, because we didn't get the DEP data forms, we are not approving the wetland delineation.
Okay. And yeah, part of it is I don't know, Jan, if you want to meet on site or something, but I mean, this is a very, very ledgy piece of property. And my earlier questions concerning in situations like this, normally the septic system gets excavated out and replaced with new soil, because it's there in the first place, because there was no other place to put it.
Right.
You know, along that street. So but I think those conditions all are applicable with the change that Joyce is due to send you tomorrow. So I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Sarah,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Anna,
Aye.
Amara,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, entertain a motion to grant a negative determination pending those revisions.
Move to issue a negative RDA approving the project with the conditions outlined in the agent's report and pending the receipt of more complete plans,
Okay,
updated
Okay.
plans.
thank you. All in favor? Sarah,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Jim, sorry for missing you there.
No problem.
Amy,
Aye.
Anna.
Aye.
Amra,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Happy New
Okay,
Year, Joyce. Good luck, David.
and good luck.
Good
Yeah.
night.
Thank
Okay,
you.
night. Okay, now, next we have two culvert replacements. They are for the town of Dover. And Janet, why don't you give us a quick overview?
So there are, both of these culvert replacements, the one on, let's see, and I know Kevin is here, our DPW director, and his team is here. Willow, the culvert has deteriorated substantially, and has basically failed. A portion of the structure has fallen into the brook, and that needs immediate replacement. The Dedham Street culvert is undersized, and it's not functioning adequately. And so beyond that, I have not done these are both, the scope of the review is fairly substantial, so I have not done a complete review of it, haven't looked at the delineation. And I am recommending that a third-party review both of the NOIs.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, so who is representing, is it Kevin, or who wants to give us the lowdown from the town's perspective?
So I'll just introduce the team. I'm obviously Kevin McCabe, your DPW director. With me from Woodard and Kern is Caitlin Glass and Scott Salvucci, and from Ecotech is Scott Jordan. So I'll pass it off to Scott Jordan at this point.
Thanks, Kevin. Actually, folks, I think it might make more sense if Caitlin goes over the existing conditions and the planned the design for the new culvert, and then I can touch on wetlands. Is that okay, Caitlin?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Thank you.
I have a few slides that I'll share, so I'm going to share my screen here.
I think I just wanted to add real quick for the scope of these two culverts. We know it's two separate public hearings, and that's strategic in the way of the town's funding as the construction goes forward in the future. But I'll give a broad overview about the two culverts, and then certainly Caitlin and Scott will talk about each specific hearing to satisfy the two open DEP numbers. But overall, for both culverts, again, it's public safety, as Janet was mentioning, reliability of transportation routes for the community and emergency response vehicles. As she mentioned, Willow Street's a safety concern. Dedham Street is more about the stream continuity with the fact that these two culverts are only, several hundred feet apart. And one of the big things I wanted to mention too was this project went through a grant process. So this started through the department, the Division of Ecological Restoration through the state. So the town received a grant for this. The first phase was field investigation and alternatives analysis. So the stream, the survey, a lot of the work that Scott Jordan's team did with the wetlands, geotechnical borings, that was all funded through a grant that the town received and also had some matching funds for. DER, Division of Ecological Restoration, reviewed that process, reviewed the alternatives analysis, and then this is the follow-on project that we're currently in with the final design on one of the recommended alternatives. So this has gone through a number of checks and balances already. And we know this will be obviously permitted through DEP as well. Army Corps will be permitted for this project. And so, again, we're looking at these projects holistically as kind of one for the stream continuity, but we're permitting them separately to help phase the construction for the town's available funding. So just wanted to note that.
Thank you. Okay, Caitlin.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm Caitlin Glass. I'm a civil engineer and I'm the project manager for this project with Woodard and Curran. I'm just going to go through a few slides to go into a little bit more detail on the existing and proposed culverts, and then I'll hand it over to Scott Jordan to go into some of the environmental considerations. So here's just an aerial map to orient you. The red dot shows the location of the Willow Street culvert, which is an equalization culvert on a causeway at the confluence of Nonet Brook and the Charles River, which you can see to the left there. Nonet Brook is a cold water fishery tributary to the Charles River. It's 2.3 miles long, and it flows in the northwesterly direction between Willow Street and Dedham Street. The location of the Dedham Street culvert, which we'll be discussing after this, is shown as the blue dot here. So Scott touched on this a little bit, but the existing culvert at the Nonet Brook Willow Street crossing is in need of replacement. It's a stone and concrete open bottom culvert. It's about 770 feet downstream of the Dedham Street culvert. It was identified as a high priority replacement in the town of Dover's 2022 hazard mitigation plan due to its deteriorating condition. And then in August of this year, the culvert was further damaged during a large storm event where the headwall and guardrail on the upstream side detached from the structure and fell into the brook, like Janet mentioned. After the storm, Mass DOT performed a dive inspection and found the culvert to be in a serious condition. Currently, the crossing is supported by steel plates across the roadway and jersey barriers on the upstream end where the guardrail has failed. So it's in need of replacement due to its deteriorated condition. Failure of the culvert could result in a complete roadway failure, making the roadway impassable and potentially resulting in flooding on neighboring residential properties. Scott touched on this a little bit, but to date, we have done a bunch of field work. We did the survey, the wetland delineations, soil borings, and geotechnical investigations. Woodard and Curran prepared a feasibility study where we evaluated several alternatives for replacement, and that was reviewed by DER, as Scott mentioned. And now we're in the final design stage where we've selected the preferred alternative and are moving through design and permitting. So the replacement culvert, we're proposing to replace the existing culvert with a 7-foot high by 9-foot wide concrete box culvert in the existing culvert's place. It will be embedded 2 feet. Sizing was determined through a hydraulic evaluation where we found that the 7-foot by 9-foot culvert would preserve the existing capacity of the culvert while maintaining the natural reversal of flow and preventing additional flow from the Charles River from ponding between the Dedham Street and Willem Street culverts. So in addition to preserving the existing flow capacity of the crossing, the proposed culvert will improve aquatic and non-aquatic organism movement and provide a structurally sound replacement to prevent future failure. The work includes installing the box culvert and headwalls, repaving the roadway, installing new guardrail, and implementing bank restoration along the downstream end of the culvert where the bank has eroded. And then I'll hand it over to Scott to go into some of the wetland, or excuse me, the environmental considerations.
There we go. Thank you, Caitlin. If you wouldn't mind just leaving that screen up, that would work just fine. That sheet pretty much shows our resource areas. So thank you. So Ecotech delineated the resource areas several months ago. And what we have is Nonet Brook and the Charles River. So of course we have riverfront area on the site with delineated mean annual high water line. And there's a fringe of bordering vegetative wetland, which is best shown here with the purple dash line at the northwest side of the crossing. There is, of course, bank associated with the both sides with Charles and Noanette Brook. Again, very little BVW. We do anticipate the BVW to be temporarily altered during the construction. We have prepared a restoration protocol. The BVW impact is 146 square feet temporary, and we're proposing several berry producing native shrubs, which will actually enhance that area with the forage producing shrubs. Once the project is completed, we'll supervise the restoration in there with the shrubs and also ferns. The project was filed as a limited project for the which there is 1053-3I for culvert repair and replacement, and it's also filed under the riverfront redevelopment standards. All impacts to resource areas are temporary, with the exception of bank. Just going through the resource areas, bordering land subject to flooding, the floodplain, its temporary impacts during the work, including the repaving near the crossing. The BVW was 146 square feet, temporary impact. We'll revegetate that upon completion. Land underwater, I misspoke, is 410 square feet of impact, and bank, a permanent impact, and bank is 140 linear feet of permanent impact. And the land underwater and the bank impacts are associated with the riprap on the north side of the crossing that's shown on the plan there. And that is to stabilize that side of the bank. And that is necessary by design, according to the design, and therefore there's a permanent impact to bank. We do anticipate some of the riprap to be below the bottom of the bank, which is the definition of land underwater. And again, that's 410 square feet. The project does have a DEP file number, and DEP has reviewed the filing and has provided no technical comments. So they appear to be comfortable with the design. When we work through performance standards, we can meet all performance standards with the exception of the wildlife habitat on the bank. And that's where the limited project provision comes in, where we can't quite meet all performance standards. So it was filed as a limited project. The bank is vegetated with shrubs. There's 3 or 4 trees along the run. And so therefore there'll be a loss of those shrubs along the bank. We are again enhancing the shrub plantings in the BVW replacement area, restoration area. So that's a positive. But there will be some loss of wetland type shrubs at the bottom of the bank.
Scott, is that due to the fact that that area is now replaced with riprap?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Scott, does this impact that parking area that's there currently? It's like I see the guardrail running up. I know there's one or two parking spaces there on the Charles side.
No, it does not.
Okay, thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. Again, so that's the big, again, it's temporary work. It's a net positive for this area, but the only performance standard we're not meeting is the bank the wildlife portion of the bank. And we provided a wildlife habitat evaluation in Appendix B for bank. And we did not find any extraordinary wildlife features in the area to be impacted. They're very common in the area, and we were comfortable describing the loss of those shrubs as insignificant and no significant impact to wildlife habitat in the general area due to the loss of these shrubs. Again, by design, this is a necessary feature, unfortunately, but it's a rather insignificant loss of shrubs along the bank. Again, there's miles of vegetated bank in the area, so that was our determination.
Okay. And is there any potential for mitigating that further down the bank from the work site? Adding anything?
Well, the bank is so heavily vegetated everywhere. I really don't think there'd be an opportunity to enhance what's already a fully vegetated bank. We didn't chase down too far. I don't know if there are any barren bank within the right of way within town property that we could try to mitigate for that. We did not look too far off site.
Okay. And is the culvert, the 7x9, is that the same size as the existing, or was there any increase in swept area? Or
The existing culvert is it's sort of irregularly sized
It's
at the
8 by
upstream. Yeah. So
And so it's the proposed one is taller, is that correct?
so it's the structure, it's going to be a 4-sided structure, so the structure itself will be taller, but the height of the channel will be the same. We're matching the inverts where it's embedded, and then we're constrained by the existing roadway grade.
Okay. And this is just age, there was no need for improvement due to poor previous design or anything?
No, it's just deteriorated and really needs to be replaced. Yeah.
Okay. Why don't we move over to, are you ready? Are you finished with this one, or is there anything else you want to add?
I just have one question. I think it's because I don't know about why a box culvert this time when it was an open bottom culvert last time?
For ease of construction and we looked at both options. I guess we looked at a box culvert and an open bottom culvert. And with the box culvert, you can still embed it and mimic the natural stream crossing. Scott, I don't know if you have anything, Scott.
Yeah. Yep. It's allowable under the stream crossing standards. The two preferred, other than bridge, the two preferred systems would be a 3-sided box or a 4-sided box with embedment. And that's what we're doing. And what that means is we're going to place, once the box is placed, it's going to be placed, this one was 2 feet. Yeah, 2 feet of embedment.
This one was 2 feet.
2 feet below finish elevation of the channel. And then we will fit the bottom of that box with stones like a puzzle and get that 2 feet of stone channel in there. Over time, obviously we have concentrated flow through there, but over in time, any voids left between those stones may muck up a bit, but they may not. But we're shooting for a natural stone channel bottom. Again, we'll start with larger stones, approximately 2 feet in diameter, and we'll fill in the voids with smaller stones.
And the alternative is, if you go with the 3-foot box, do you then also have to rest that on footings that you have to install?
Correct.
Yes,
So
yep.
this, so this,
For a scale of economics, it's much simpler to do the 4
Mhm.
box. And obviously we can, open this project and close it relatively quickly. And eliminate the cost of doing the footings.
and
And
the,
obviously, being embedded, you still have the aquatic passage, so there is no difference from that standpoint as well.
um,
Are you
Any
doing
other-
any kind of pump around while this is in place, or what's the plan for dewatering the pond side? Or keeping,
Yes. Yeah, so we'll use dams to dewater, but there will be a bypass.
okay, yeah, so the road's closed for a substantial, okay,
Yeah, because we're gonna have to, similar to Claybrook Road, gonna have to use the whole roadway for staging area. 'Cause
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
really no laydown area for materials or equipment.
no, makes sense, and I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like a pretty straightforward project for a culvert replacement.
And do you have an idea of both start date and how long it will take?
Start date would be up to you all as the residents. This is gonna be on town meeting, for May, so would be shooting for, having the bidding prior to that. So we'd have a hard number for town meeting, having all of our documents in a row, and if it's funded via free cash, we couldn't start any sooner than July 1st. So it'd be sometime over the summer. To fit, all in all, to close the road back up would probably be between 3 to 4 months.
Okay. And how much of this is comes out of the town budget versus some of the grants that you've received? Percentage wise?
Construction wise would be 100% town.
Mhm.
So we, as Scott mentioned, we were successful getting the DER grant, which funded the kind of initiation of this project. We put in for a phase 2 grant. I was unsuccessful with that to do final design and permitting. Leverage the state chapter 90 funding for that, to hire Woodard and Curran and Ecotech to finish the design and permitting. And then we put in for a one-stop construction grant through the infrastructure. There's many portals in the one-stop grant application. I put in for construction funding for both projects, but was unsuccessful. So with the disarray of Willow Street, as your public works professional, I certainly wouldn't recommend holding that off, as I told the capital committee, one more year. We did have a dive team from MassDOT. I called a favor into MassDOT. This is obviously now a small bridge, so not under their purview. However, they sent the dive team, and we have some pretty graphic images of kind of what's going on underneath there, if you will. So my understanding is we as the town put steel plates over this span to reduce the point load over the abutment walls. Back in 2001, I have a memo from Bob Homer. Some of the more institutional team that's still here at the highway department said we did it in the 90s. So, certainly a project we need to move forward with. And I think we've been pretty lucky. It's held up, I guess, as long as it has. So just to kind of finish that, the reason why, so that's also the reason why we're permitting it. Dedham Street needs to be replaced, but it's not in the disarray of Willow Street. So we're going to try to put in for a one-stop grant again for construction funding when that opens. I believe that's early May. So we can try to offset the cost of that one.
And what is the one stop?
We don't need to.
No, true.
This
No,
is
I'm just
part of the
curious.
environmental. I actually have one environmental question related to the timing, though, is because it is one of the cold tributaries to the Charles, maybe Ecotech or others can talk about whether or not it's a problem for the fish and the spawning if it's closed at certain times of the year and not others, and how long it's closed, or what the
So I'm not
alternatives
certain.
for Nona Brook are.
Yeah, the only comment I would have is DEP did not bring that up. I've had other projects where DEP did impose time of year restrictions on projects. They did not here. And that would be dependent on what, I'm surprised it's a cold water, it's a very low gradient, broad stream. That surprises me. It may be spring fed. It would depend on the actual species of fish. Some of the salmonids breed in the fall, some in the spring. So I don't know that information. I know that we do have to submit this to Army Corps, and they look at a federal list for a similar designation, anadromous, catadromous type fish. And there was nothing came up for Dover, so that shouldn't be an issue for the federal filing.
I don't think there's any way for them to spawn coming up that way. There's
Okay,
dams below and
I'm-
dams, you know what I mean? There's,
It's
they
not,
can't get up past Needham. That's the problem.
it's the brook trout.
Yeah,
Issue
nothing.
that I was more thinking of than hill wipes or other things that come
Mhm.
off. They really come too far up, but because I know Poisson Brook, we found that's why we did the Brody property, because Paul found things that made it seem like we could have brook trout still in that stream,
Mhm.
and that's
Mhm.
not too far from here. So anyway,
Okay.
just a thought in terms of timing, how long the flow is going to be interrupted and that kind of thing. So just to keep
Is
it in
the- is-
mind as we plan it.
Is much of the, I think when it comes to the box culvert, Kevin, is this something that once you open this up, you're looking to replace it in a very short period of time, and then the rest of the time is, reshaping the roadway and the banks, or?
Correct. That would be that whole time period of basically that 3 to 4 months would be kind of doing the edge, the riprap, the guardrail.
But the flow would only be interrupted for a day or two.
Well, I think it'd be longer than that. They'd often said basically the coffer dams and the bypass, and then excavate the old and then bring in the new. So that, that.
Well, there is a
will be
bypass. There's still flow, Amy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, there's still flow into the Charles. There's a bypass process there.
Okay.
Well, is it a bypass at the same elevation, or is it pumped?
Yeah, we're only at. I mean,
Yeah, well, anyway,
this is
we're
only
probably
20
past
on,
the
so we'll
detail
work out those
level.
things.
Okay. Okay,
had
then,
Her hand up.
are there any other questions concerning Willow Street?
Janet had her hand up.
Janet?
Yeah. So again, I haven't reviewed this in detail, but it looks like it's designed to preserve the existing capacity of the culvert and is being designed to convey the 25-year storm event. But I'm wondering if thought has been with the effects of climate change, increased precipitation, and velocity. You feel that that's adequate to design it to the 25-year storm?
Yeah, we did hydraulic modeling to look at what would happen if we increased the size, and what that would do is it would allow more water from the Charles to go upstream and could create ponding upstream. So we felt comfortable keeping the size at the 7x9.
So that was to maintain in essence, a hydrostatic balance that, so that you're not backing up into that pond? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Because we're running into having to redesign many drainage areas due to the intensity of storms. And so you feel that the potential to back up counterweighs the, has there been a history of any flooding because of the size of this in the last 10 years? That it may be undersized for the increased intensity?
So we looked at the peak elevation for the 10, 25, 50, and 100-year storm events. And the proposed culvert will be an improvement over existing in terms of the peak elevation for all of those storm events.
And I'm just curious because it seems to be very similar to the one it's replacing. So how is that? Is it a little deeper, or what is it that makes it different or increased capacity there?
It's just a little bit different in size, yeah.
We're gonna find out this weekend since we're about to get more rain on top of the very, very high flow.
So,
Yeah.
okay,
Level
why don't
two,
we,
yeah.
so one of the questions we had is, and Janet, mentioned this, is that normally in something of this scale, we would bring in an outside, reviewer, a peer reviewer to review this. Of course, normally we would bring in Ecotech. And,
Sorry about that.
yeah, and the however, the other option there, concern there is that peer review is paid by the applicant. And in this situation, the town is the applicant. So we're kind of on the same side there. And the question I had for Kevin is, has there been any discussion about this, that possibility of having funds from this project being used for our review on a environmental basis?
No, the funds for this have already been allocated. As I said, there was the Chapter 90, the state funding for that. That's as a municipal official, right, that we're presenting this as a town to you as a town board. So that's, at least in my past town, that's pretty uncommon that they would require a third party review. As we seek the professionals in Woodard and Kern and Ecotech to design this correctly and accurately for the town.
Mm-hmm. And yet we've already had a few questions about capacity and things of that nature that are frankly, the fine tuning of it is a little bit beyond our ability, which is why we would normally have a third party involved in this. I think, Lori, did you have a chance to run something, a question about this by the town administrator?
No, I didn't.
Okay. And Janet, have you broached it with anybody?
No, that'd be the commission's call. But I know, even when you have other town projects, the community center, a lot of other projects, when it comes before a board, regardless of who the applicant is, it's within the board's purview to require a third-party review. So.
And I'm not that concerned actually with Ecotech doing the environmental review. I just the structural review, and I don't want to get in the weeds on this either, but it's a concern that's come up, Kevin, and it seems counterintuitive on its face, because we assume that you're doing everything for the benefit of the town, and by having Ecotech doing the filing and so forth. We just want to make sure that we're covered properly on that. So why don't we move over to Dedham Street? And I'm open to if Scott or the engineers have run into this before with other towns, if how other towns have handled this.
I guess I can speak to that. We've designed and permitted culvert replacements across dozens and dozens of municipalities in Massachusetts, permitted them, designed them, constructed, overseen the construction of. We've never had a third party review oversee what we submitted. I guess I would say this also goes to DEP. This file is concurrent with DEP. They look at this. Again, DER looked at this when we did some of the alternatives analysis and we had some of the preliminary modeling. And I guess I would say too, these culvert replacements are sensitive, as we were talking about with flows. Just the nature of these culverts, the history of these culverts, the way they're put in, decades and decades ago. A lot of times, they weren't sized for any storm. It was just, let's put something in place, whatever the stream bed we see, and put a road over it, right? So historically, it creates an upland wetland, or it creates a constriction that changes the floodplains upstream and downstream. And when we come to do these replacements, we use modeling software that's, industry known and recognized. And that's what we've submitted to you and to DEP. And we look at those models and we see what the flow rates are, the velocities are, the peak elevations of the water is. And you really want to make sure that you pay attention to the upstream and downstream flood zones, the velocities and the elevations of the water. And that's what we do. And that's what we looked at through the modeling. That's what we put into the reports that we submit to you, and those are memorialized in these submissions. So, you know, in a sense, I think you would feel confident that, you know, you have a consultant that's qualified, experienced, and has the expertise to do these, that's been hired by the town. And again, we haven't necessarily ever heard of a third-party review, mostly because I think you would also, as a commission, say, okay, well, hey, this is being submitted by professionals that are stamping this. That's our
Mhm.
certification that we feel comfortable as a commission to say, you are putting your professional stamp on this. That is our, you know, certification that we can then agree that this project is permittable. So.
So yeah, and I think part of it is really just a function of how our consulting agent is funded and budgeted. And it's a weird situation because we used to be able to charge for her fees, and then we were told that we had to use outside consultants instead so that we don't blow our budget. And so in reviewing this, it's going to affect our budget. And we haven't spoken to anybody regarding whether, and I'm sure we can talk to town administrator about if we do need special funds for that. If we have Janet put the time into that, and she bills us for it, and it takes us over budget, then maybe the town can find those funds elsewhere. Um, so that's the nitty gritty of how it affects our office, and that's why we end up with third party reviewers in certain larger scale cases. But I'm not going to let that get in the way of this. So why don't we move on to Dedham Street?
Mr. Chairman, I had one more thing to add to this. Is this, we do have to file with Army Corps,
Right.
specifically because it does not meet stream crossing standards. Obviously, there's site constraints. We have an existing road, and you go much bigger with a box, you have to raise the road, et cetera. So Army Corps will be reviewing this also. So, and if there are any changes that they want to see, we would come back to you with an amended plan. If the
No, and
there's
I'm also
substantial
very
change.
cognizant that changing the making this much larger could potentially affect the pond on the other side of Willow Street, which is not desirable either. So, but I was aware that Army Corps will be the backup reviewer here. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think that speaks to the third party review in a sense. You know, if it's a hesitance of, are we sure as a commission that this is designed correctly? This is going through many checks and balances as well. And again, has stamps by professional engineers.
Yeah,
So,
and frankly, DEP is anything regarding the Charles, DEP normally has comments. So it's surprising that you didn't. You know, we're aware of that. Okay. Any other commissioner questions concerning this? Okay, let's move on to Dedham Street, please.
Sorry. You all can still see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay. So Dedham Street, this is the same map that I shared earlier. You can see the red dot on this sheet shows the Dedham Street culvert, and the Willow Street culvert is shown in blue. Again, they're about 770 feet apart. The existing culvert at the Noanet Brook Dedham Street crossing is a 52-inch diameter corrugated metal pipe. It's in decent condition, but it's undersized and subject to regular blockage, which causes localized ponding on private property and roadways. And because of that, it needs to be maintained and upsized. So similar to our work at Willow Street, we performed field work, did a feasibility study, and now we're in the design and permitting stage. So similar to Willow Street, we are looking to replace the existing culvert with a 7-foot high by 9-foot wide concrete box culvert in place of the existing. This one will be embedded 2.5 feet. Again, sizing was determined through a hydraulic evaluation. The 7-foot by 9-foot size culvert here will provide increased flow capacity over existing conditions, and it will improve aquatic and non-aquatic organism movement and provide a structurally sound replacement. Hydraulically, it will match the size of the Willow Street culvert. Work here will include installing the box culvert and headwalls, replacing the roadway repaving the roadway and installing new guardrail.
And then we move on to Scott.
Yes, thank you. This is much the same story. We delineated bank, BVW. Bank is coincident with mean annual high water line. Obviously a perennial stream, so we have riverfront area. This is and there's less impacts to resource areas here. We do not have the proposed permanent riprap along the bank, so all impacts here are temporary. Obviously, we have riverfront area, temporary impacts, repaving, the road, etc. That's all temporary. Floodplain is temporary work. Again, that's the repaving and some touch up and grading on the shoulders. We have the bank impacts 135 linear feet, temporary. Most of that is the culvert. So as I'm sure most of you know, existing culverts have bank. Twice, each side of the culvert is bank. So when you're replacing an existing culvert, you count that as bank impact. So I believe it's 51-foot long culvert here. So it's 102 feet of bank temporarily impacted. To install another 102 feet of culvert. On the north side, we may impact 20, I think maybe 30 linear feet of bank during construction. We'll restabilize that. That's a rather abrupt earthen and stone bank on that north side. We've just conservatively anticipated it may get banged up, and Ecotech will be supervise stabilizing that. Biodegradable netting, stone is likely what we'll place there because it's existing stone now. On the south side, the two little pie-shaped pieces of BVW, they're very sparsely vegetated. They total 78 square feet of BVW to be temporarily impacted. And we've prepared a restoration protocol to actually enhance that, again, with native high wildlife value berry producing shrubs. There's virtually no vegetation in those areas now. So that'll be an enhancement upon completion.
So it sounds like, Scott, Willow Street, I'm not sure if it was you or your other colleague said what, a couple months to do. How long do you expect Dedham Street?
Kevin.
Kevin?
It'd be the same story, probably about 3 to 4 months.
But it sounds like from Scott's review, Dedham's going to be a lot more invasive versus Willow Street.
How do you mean, Sarah?
In terms of
The length, or
putting in the culvert itself.
The projects are very similar in scope. Yeah. I think maybe what you're referring to is we do have permanent impact to a resource area bank at Willow Street. We don't have any permanent impacts on Dedham. That would be the difference. This also has a DEP file number, no technical comments. It's it's simpler in the fact that there's no permanent impacts to resource areas.
And I'll add, it'll be much more simple, not having the immediate impacts of the Charles River being right against its construction zone.
Agreed. Yeah.
And your net impact here is actually an improvement of stream flow, whereas the other one was maintaining what you had. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Sorry, so you were thinking that this was a larger project or more impactful?
I did from.
And did that answer your question, or do you still
did.
have okay, great. Commissioners, any other questions on this? So question for Janet. This has multiple levels of review, as has been discussed. And so I'm wondering, and this is directed to your concern about review and having a peer review component here. Number one is, I view Willow Street, as I understand it, is in essence an emergency. Is that an appropriate concern, Kevin? Given that you have pieces. Yeah. So, and then would Dedham Street be taking place possibly the year after Willow Street?
Correct.
Because you'll need Willow Street in order to.
Yeah, just because it's the same stream crossing, we had all the, the previous concurrent work. That's why I moved forward with final design and permitting. Obviously I have up to 3 years to construct it or come back to the commission and ask for an extension. So in essence, this will be a shovel-ready project. A lot of these grants, they're super competitive. And that was basically the feedback I got is, in the grant, we committed to the funds, whether we got the DER phase 2 or use the local chapter 90 funding. But, we went against a ton of people that had shovel ready projects. So that's kind of why we're going to shelf this one. As this can, we can leave this for a year or two.
You think this has a better shot, Kevin, as it's a state highway in that section?
Well, no, we'll have a better shot because we'll have traffic counts and obviously a design and hopefully a permit at that point. So they'll, because that's the term that all this infrastructure really wants is right is, well, we're not giving you money. We're giving you money because it's a shovel ready project and you just need the funding. So that's the strategy behind that.
Yeah, and you have the flexibility to apply for more things.
Correct.
Yeah. So, okay, then any other questions from commissioners?
No, I mean, they both seem pretty straightforward replacements. There's and minimal. I know there's permanent impact on the Willow Street one, but I mean, that's, if you've ever been on the water side you can't get through the brush on the bank side on either, for thousands of feet on either side. So on anything that we could push on to get restoration, you know what I mean? It's like there's private property there that's lawn down to the edge, but that bank all along there is brush and plants all the way. So,
well, it seems to be, it changes dynamically as well.
Yeah.
So Scott, is there anything in this presentation that is lacking for us to, do you feel, to make a decision on this? Is there anything that DEP had nothing to say about it? Are there any other things that you would want to fine tune on this?
You speaking to me?
Yes. Yep, Scott Jordan.
No, we've provided documentation where we went through each and every performance standard for each resource area at each location. So obviously there's a lot of resource areas at each location. We have VLSF, land underwater, bank, riverfront area, BVW, and we've addressed each performance standard that's in the regs within our documentation. And we provided the required habitat evaluations for the resource area bank at each location. Again, nothing extraordinary found in either location, and we're enhancing with better shrubs, berry producing shrubs. Yeah, so habitat evaluation, Woodard and Curran has prepared a fantastic memorandum discussing the culvert. You know, that's what we try to do is meet all the requirements of the filing up front. And I feel like we've done that. DEP seems satisfied.
So when do you expect the Army Corps response?
Well, they're very slow. They're very slow. In fact, I've got to prod them again for Claybrook Road.
Oh, really? So if you don't get a response from them and you have an emergency situation, do you have an ability to proceed?
An emergency certificate can supersede a federal filing. Problem with emergency certificate is it expires in 30 days. So you know, if that blew out and we wanted to jump on it, I mean, we still have to go to, you know, if it blew out tomorrow, obviously that's a lot of extensions. Kevin still has to go to town meeting, etc. So it could be done. There's nothing in the regs that says it can't. There's only about 2 paragraphs regarding emergency certificates. Certainly qualify. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
So, no, I was just kidding. I wasn't aware of the Claybrook had because that was clearly an emergency. Visibly. So I guess, Janet, my question is, this is we've had driveways that have had more permanent effects on things than this has is projected to have. And we have some pretty competent people involved with lots of oversight in terms of review on this. So is there and so I'm inclined to allow this for those reasons and others. Is there a concern that you have that this needs additional review that would that would be markedly different than what we're seeing in front of us?
Well, regardless of the applicant, it really is the commission's due diligence responsibility, you know, to review the application and to confirm that. So I have not done that.
Oh, you
That will
haven't?
take
Okay.
a substantial amount of time. I can try to streamline that review.
Well, that's part of where I'm going. Because I know you're usually very thorough. As I said, we've had driveways that have had more permanent effect than what this appears to have on a construction basis, in terms of land that's that has been affected and so forth. So I'm more than happy to go over this with you in terms of construction background and things of that sort. And I understand that you haven't had a chance to review the whole thing. But I just wanted to bring that up directly, and also for commissioners in terms of my view of this. Do commissioners have any other anything they'd like to address along those lines?
I agree that we could move forward with this.
So, and do you think we could move forward enough to vote on it, or do you want? Okay.
Well, I haven't had a chance to do any review, and there are special conditions that need to be drafted.
Okay.
So
That's fair.
generally don't close without special conditions.
Okay, I assume those conditions would be similar to things that you dealt with on Claybrook. I mean, there may be some differences, but it'd be that type of review.
Well, it is a stream crossing and it's a limited project, so I'd have to review their regulatory compliance submittal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why don't we do this? I think we've heard from the commissioner as well. I think it's a normal and fair thing to have Janet do a review. I will work with Janet in terms of the scope of that review, and why don't we continue this to our next hearing? Does that work for you, Kevin?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
And Thank you very much, and thanks for the team for your presentation. Appreciate it.
Certainly. Do you know the date, Mr. Chairman, for that?
I do not. Lori does.
January 10th.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Janet, will that give you enough time for a review?
Yeah, it should be. We have a couple other new things coming in, so our volume is still up there, but yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay, and why don't you and I touch base early next week to do a brief run through on this. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, everyone. That is the end of our agenda, but I do know we had a busy week. So if Janet could give us a quick update on some of the emergencies that have happened, I think that would be helpful.
Sure. So the primary concern is the release into the Charles River from the transformer fluid on Chestnut Street Bridge. I've sent you 2 emails on that. That is being overseen by DEP. They've approved an immediate response action plan. But usually in cases like this, that we do have local jurisdiction as well, where some remedial action is necessary. It looks like on a short-term basis only. But I would recommend that the commission vote to approve an emergency certificate. And it would be specifically, and Lori, I can talk to you tomorrow with this language, but it would be issuing an emergency certificate for remedial actions to be performed by Eversource as required by DEP in their immediate response action plan related to the spill from an underground transformer pipe releasing oil into the Charles River, adjacent ponding areas and soil under Chestnut Street Bridge.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Jim?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Amra?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Okay. And let's see, we had a truck go off the road on Walpole Street.
Yes, and so that really had no negative impact. There was a small amount of spillage onto the soil that was contained immediately. The fire chief estimated that was about maybe 2 to 3 gallons of gas that was immediately contained. So there is no follow-up required there.
Good. Okay.
And I had just one other quick question for Amy. Jasmine, the town planner, had sent me an email that they had a request from an abutting homeowner on Draper Road to rescind an easement on Draper Road. That was never accepted at the town meeting, and I didn't know, had she reached out to you on that?
This is old. It's all part of this confusion about whether or not easements that are permissioned and recorded, but not necessarily voted at town meeting, need to go to town meeting to get undone, or whether planning can undo them. Or, I mean, it's an easement it's a trail easement that's on the CR in Schaffner Lane. So I don't know why anyway. I haven't talked to her lately about it, but Carol's been talking about it for ages, and I heard that they'd come to the planning board, and planning, I don't know what planning decided. But you know, it's just people anyway. I have a problem, you know, letting things go forward, and then just because the homeowners who bought a property that clearly had an easement on it, and it was in their deed that they had an easement on it, and then they get annoyed, they want to get out of it, but
They want to extinguish
whatever.
it.
They
But
want
I'm
to
assuming-
extinguish it.
Has
But,
it, during all
you
this
know,
time, is town
people-
council ever addressed this with all these?
They haven't ever. Yes and no.
Thank you.
Yeah, they've been asked. They haven't
Mhm.
ever responded coherently.
Mhm.
But we've never had a
it's-
ruling on it. That's the problem, because there's a
No.
whole bunch there that we need to have. Does it need to go to town meeting or does it not?
And
be-
every time, it goes to them, and then they don't understand it, and then they come back. Anyway, I went back and forth with them a whole bunch with Courtney too.
Right, well, that's what
This
there
is
was a,
this is the infinite problem. I don't,
I think it needs a outside opinion from somebody who specializes in this type of thing. And it doesn't
probably.
seem like town council
So
does.
well,
I,
what
I'll
was-
forward her email to everyone, so her pointed
Mhm.
question is, the abutters have specifically asked the planning board very recently to rescind this. Her email said, does the Conservation Commission or me in particular know a reason why it should not be rescinded, and let us know by January, because they're taking it up at one of their January meetings.
Because it's
So
part of
it's
the,
just,
it's part, it's a
Because
condition
they
in
got
the
to
CR.
do the subdivision because
Right.
the trail was put there. That's
Precisely.
why mine.
Yeah,
Well,
so
but
no,
Yeah,
yes, we do know a
We're talking
reason.
about Draper Road, we're talking
Yeah.
about Draper Road.
So we do
Draper
know a
Road.
reason.
all
And-
all the way on the left-hand side as you're going towards 109.
Yeah.
Behind those houses
It
is
actually, it's one of the few ones that actually connects things together and
Mhm.
makes a
So
nice.
yes, we
loop
we
for
do
the
know a
neighborhood.
reason, Janet.
Yeah, but it does
Okay.
have 30-foot pine trees in it now.
Yeah.
But but that was at that point in time, the town was requiring equestrian easements for new subdivisions.
Right.
And that was one of the more useful
Trails.
ones.
It's actually not that great for equestrians, but it is really great for
To
walking.
say, it's like,
If
whatever.
No, but that's what they were being called at the time.
should have been,
Uh,
yeah,
Yeah.
makes
and-
it sound more elegant.
Right.
so would it be a good idea to invite someone from the planning board to our next meeting to
Sure.
discuss this with the commission?
I'm sure they'll really enjoy that. At the next meeting, so my question is, I don't know whose deadline is what, but we have a very full meeting at the next meeting.
At the January 10th meeting?
Yeah, because we've had people that we basically moved over because we didn't want tonight's meeting to go to 11 o'clock. So I think, Laura, is it shaping up to be a full meeting for the January 10th one?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so I could see moving it possibly to the meeting after that. And that would
Okay.
give planning a chance to review, but I think we should ask planning that before we go ahead and respond to a resident saying
Right.
that we're putting it on the agenda. Let's find out from planning whether it's something they have the wherewithal to address.
Okay,
And it may spur them to talk to town council, who knows?
okay.
Um,
And then the last issue, and maybe John, you and I can discuss this further, but I did mention this in my email. I am concerned that as of my December bill,
mhm.
I did see
the
that. too.
special services budget will be
Mhm.
out of minus 2,000. And
Mhm.
I'm how the commission wants to address that. And I am concerned about moving forward with continued very heavy permitting workload and not really knowing where the money's gonna come from, so.
So
um,
basically, what I'm hearing is, so the budget we have for you, I think for last year or coming into for this fiscal year, is that 65 or what was the original budget? And what we're requesting is for the following year is 85. Is that correct? Or not? Was it 90?
Starting in July 2024.
Okay. So now we have to, Laura and I will.
Unfunded liability for 6 months.
Yeah, and Laura and I will review what we have available, and we want to do some trail maintenance and not pull that money out of there. We'll see what we have for various trust funds, the WPA fund. And I think we also want to notify the town management and say, this is
Right.
exactly what we predicted. And do we have that we're willing to take some of our funding, but can we get additional funding similar to what we did last year?
Right.
And I think the idea of addressing it head on as opposed to after the fact is the responsible way
Absolutely.
for us to handle it. So Janet, why don't we look at our meeting, sometime next week? That we'll put that on there, and then we'll deal with we'll work with Lori to see what we have for available funds, and then I'll set up a meeting with Michael to bring him abreast of that pending circumstance.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Sounds good.
I just
Okay.
just had one thing. I know I missed a couple meetings. I asked Janet about 55 Main Street, which is a house that's been for sale, and I guess it was purchased by or in process with Craig for some work there. Across the street is 56 Main Street, which has a perennial stream and a wetland associated with it. In fact, we wouldn't let them cut a tree in that area because it was in the wetland. That stream is in a culvert that crosses a street and runs in between 55 and 57. I know, Janet, it was minor stuff. They weren't going to do anything in the back, but there's a intermittent stream there that I think we need to have highlighted. They never had the wetlands delineated or any of that stuff. And you can drive by now and see the stream flow across the lawn. I mean, it's apparently a wet meadow.
Which
57.
one is 56? If you give us a
56 is the second one on the left. It was the front side of John Devine's property there. Johnny Devine's 58. So
I'm saying, as we go past the Pleasant Street turnoff there,
Yep.
what numbers
So
are
when you
what
come
numbers
down,
yeah, what numbers are those right up by there?
so
Are
I
they
think
in-
it's 53 is the
Oh,
top.
so it's only just a couple houses down.
Yeah. So it's 53. Then there's a little cape that was for sale for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Craig started, like, there was a backhoe there one day, and I said to Janet, "Hey, what's going on with this?" Because there's a pond, there's wetlands, there's all sorts, and then Trout Brook in the very back. It's a large piece of property. I want to say it's 3 or 4 acres, but there's a pond there that they can't get across. Across the street directly, there's the older house that's on the corner, not on the corner, but the first house on the left. There's an older farmhouse there.
Yeah.
And then they built a newer one in front of John Devine's house at 58. So he's number 56. And there's a perennial stream there, or an intermittent stream. And the guy came in and asked to take a tree down.
I
And they
see.
wouldn't let him because it was in the wetland. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Is that it?
yes. So this side here, the left side of the house. I actually, if I share my screen, I took some pictures today.
I have,
Okay.
And,
No, I-
and across
I
the
have-
street there, so let me just share
I
mine
have
here.
Mass Mapper up if you want to see.
And so this is the intermittent stream. Sorry, let me do a slideshow here. So this is the current stream. So this is, you can see the edge of the house there.
Yeah.
This is the
Mhm.
current stream, and then,
Yeah.
so across the street, it comes out and rolls along the edge here. And there's actually, they came out and surveyed this whole thing. You'll see the stakes, if you go out, are in the lawn.
Mhm.
So the house that they're working on is on the right side of this, and it's substantially higher. But there is a pond back there. You can see the wet in the back of the house there. That's Bob Keene's house. That's 58, I think, or 59. And so there's just some concern there. And I just want to highlight that. And this was one they had come in originally and did a delineation, and they withdrew it. And I don't know that this has ever been formally delineated recently.
So now and you're saying now this is 55 we're talking about, right?
55 is the older
Yeah.
house.
And so you think that has work been started on it at all?
Craig went in and he was doing some digging, Janet. He was doing some test
Okay,
pits. Is that
so-
right?
Yeah, so I have had a conversation with Craig. He called me, said, "What's happening with this?" They had filed an RDA, wanted to do septic testing in the back within the buffer. we came back and said, no, you have to test in the front, the existing
Mhm.
septic front. And then the builder walked away from it. They just gave up on that. So I told Craig, I said, we had an RDA filed, nothing was approved. But as long as you do your septic testing in the front and nothing happens in the back, but if you're gonna work in the back, you need to come to us for an RDA for the soil pits. So that's how it was left. And it
Right,
was
but
my
there's a
understanding.
stream, there's an intermittent stream there that, because it's never been delineated,
Mhm.
it goes across the street on a culvert, and on the print for 56, there's a culvert that goes across the road.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I don't wanna make a big deal out of it. I just like to,
So do you
Somebody-
think do you think the house itself is within the buffer zone of that
Yes.
stream?
Oh, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
absolutely. It's 40 feet from the stream edge.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we're considering it as a perennial stream, I mean, you see it, it flows out into that lawn.
Mhm.
And it's a wet meadow, but they mow it and they keep it up, and that's less than, much less than. Yeah, it might be 50 feet from it, 40, 50 feet.
So I know the septic agent, Jason, is out until next week, but I will touch base with him to see if he's been contacted.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
just,
probably-
it's gonna, I don't want it to turn into a fiasco.
Right,
Well,
right.
Does anybody know if the RDA plan showed an intermittent stream to the left there?
I don't think
I
so.
don't recall. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But we never got so far as, and we didn't have DEP forms or anything. So there
Mhm.
was no,
Okay.
they didn't request any approval of that. Yeah.
It's just a tough piece of property because there's a pond there and everything else, and I get that they want to do something with it, but
Yep.
Yeah.
So did Craig approach you, Janet, on that?
He did, and my recollection, I asked him to look at the file, go into the office and look at what was submitted. But it was my recollection that all septic testing was gonna be outside the 100-foot buffer.
Right.
So,
right, but if there's a stream there, and
Yeah.
they could certainly argue that it's not and come up with the data and all those things, but there is a culvert that comes across Main Street.
Oh, no, it seemed and they'd probably come in under a grandfathering clause in the first place,
Right.
with where the system currently is.
Exactly right, exactly.
And-
But
but
I don't
as
think
long
they're
as-
gonna put in a 5 or 6 or 7 bedroom system in the front of that yard because they're up
No.
against the street.
No, so unless they, so they're gonna have to, and Craig's aware of that, it seems, so, at least he asked questions first. So,
Exactly.
So let's follow it, but at the same time, let's make sure that no shovels in the ground. And you are the closest to that, so we appreciate your.
Yeah, I drive by it
diligence.
almost every day.
Oh, that's right, because you're,
I go whipping past it
yeah, so,
first thing in the morning.
okay, any other, besides wishes of good cheer and the like, are there any other things any conservation things that people would like to bring up?
Is there just the beaver issue down at Channing Pond? Can we revisit that at some point?
Would that be up to, is that Park and Rec, or do we have to spur them to do that, or are
it's
we looking at
us.
the other?
I
It's the
think
other
it's
side.
us.
And is it the other side of the street, or is it back where we originally saw it?
Back where we originally were talking.
It's back,
Okay.
and Jim and I knew that it was gonna be
Sure.
an issue that was never gonna end.
No, our minutes talked about the migration.
Right. I just
yeah.
think I think you need to get in there with a piece of equipment and take out a substantial piece of that dam. I mean, that beaver house looks like it could hold 40 beavers, and then the dam is a good couple 100 feet long. And it's,
So do we get 40B credit for this, or?
I think so. I would say yes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Jim, it goes back to the beaver deceivers don't really work. And
No, that's the problem is.
we know what we need to do. We need to get the guy in there to trap him and just, but again, the problem is as many as we trap down at the smaller Channing Pond, sorry,
Right.
I have my bad cold.
No.
They're coming, all the beavers are coming from the bigger Channing Pond, which is
Right.
behind my house.
Well, can
So
we do
it's-
a
until,
beaver
until,
deceiver?
until we can trap and kill, I hate to say kill, but trap the beavers that are behind my house. They're still gonna keep coming down.
Right, but do we do a beaver deceiver on the upstream side and see if that helps?
Well,
I think we should. I think good to try before we're going after 40 beavers.
I think normally with beaver deceivers, you need an elevation drop in order to make them function properly. And this is so flat, it's that
I
it's
know.
very,
No, I
you
know.
know,
There's
yeah,
no,
and
there's no drop.
it may be that it just needs every 2 year, process, in terms of management.
I mean,
And
we could go old school with some dynamite, right? That's what they used to go with, right? I don't think
right.
anybody would complain
but
in the
but
middle of
that-
Channing Pond, do you?
40 beavers are going to rebuild that very quickly.
No, I mean, that lodge it's gotta be 20 feet across and 7 or 8 feet high.
Well, it's an interesting, when we went out there last year, obviously seal would have been impossible unless we had a dredging machine, just because
Right.
water was so high. So I think if we try to work it into our land management to pay attention to it relative to dry season and maybe spool up the necessary approvals so that we can work on them quickly if we have a dry period. That might be a way to look at managing
What
it.
did we end up doing last year? Well, last time, we didn't need an emergency permit. It was just a permit from us, right?
But we had a trapper come in on that.
Right, but I mean, that's all
Yeah.
we did, and they can do some hand removal, the heavy
But-
equipment.
But there is a process. You have to go to Board of Health first.
Yeah,
They have-
yeah, and we followed all that, and I'm thinking that we just plan on doing that as almost view it as a type of trail maintenance.
Right, but I
Uh,
thought Board of Health, it came back that because it wasn't an emergency purview, it was out of their purview, and we just ended up issuing an internal permit.
I think that's right.
I think if I remember
Yeah.
right, because
That's
there
right
wasn't an
too, Jim.
imminent danger.
I think that's right.
Yeah,
So Lori, we would have a file on that, I would assume, is that correct?
Yes, and I thought Channing Pond was Park and Rec. And you have to trap within trapping season,
Right.
or you have to get, I think it's Board of Health permission on an emergency.
well, I
permit.
think trapping the fur bearing runs till end of February, so maybe. we
Does
get
it?
some-
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we get some done this winter.
But at
So
the same
if you-
time, I also know, Jim and I mean, I know a very good trapper.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
I'd like to open it up, actually, and maybe we can get Tim to
Yeah.
approve it as part of the Lyme disease, as
I
a
haven't
hunting
been to a Lyme
spot.
disease meeting in 10 years.
or as Jim being our coastal management.
Yeah,
person,
exactly, yeah.
Right,
help
right,
us with,
Master, right? Harbor
He can
master.
use,
you can
he
help
can
us
use the-
with, you can help us with getting,
Access,
Trap
get some
guy.
access, yeah,
well,
absolutely,
yeah, you can use the boat, we got you.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
So Laura, if you could pull that file out, and I think that's, let's see what we need to do so that we're ready for, well, let's find out when in February that season ends.
Yeah.
Number one, so that we can see what deadline we have to work with and what meeting we'd have to bring this up at.
Because I wonder if we could just open it up as a trapping location.
And would just allow public trapping, or would, I didn't know that's a thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, you could become a licensed trapper and it's.
No, but if it's on town property, whether somebody can just go on town
That,
property.
as far as I know, is it's public, they have right to access public property, so.
We probably want to clarify that.
Yeah.
Before we,
Yeah, I will, I mean,
so it's
before
so
we hear from
public.
other boards.
Right. I just,
and-
yeah.
And Sarah, can you just write things
Before
out
we get
on
sued by one
notes,
trapper
please?
whose leg gets caught in somebody else's trap.
right, they're
Right,
small, they're
right,
only this big.
right. Yeah, so anyway, anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, and thank you everyone for between the holidays here. I appreciate
New Year.
everyone taking the time. I'm very buoyed by the turnout. This is super. Thank you very much. And everyone have a lovely New Year.
You as
And,
well.
we'll see you.
John,
back
I'll
on
expect
the
to see you at first night
We have
downtown.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm making a beaver ice sculpture.
Excellent, we'll do the ice luge.
In for the 50-degree night.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Okay, thanks, everyone.
See
Have
y'all
a happy
next
new
year.
year.
Happy New Year.
Okay, bye-bye.